I'll be reading Kentucky, the Bluegrass State by Jason Glasser. Kentucky, the Bluegrass State by Jason Glasser. True Blue. Kentucky bluegrass is a lot like the state of Kentucky itself. For one thing, bluegrass is not really blue, just as Kentucky is not officially called a state. Kentucky's official name is the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Bluegrass is not native to America. It came from England, as did many early Kentuckians. Today, bluegrass is among first things people picture when they think about Kentucky. A type of folk music played in Kentucky is even called bluegrass music. Kentucky is circled by 7 other states. West Virginia and Virginia are on the east side, and Missouri is on the western tip. Tennessee runs along Kentucky's south side, while Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio sits across the Ohio River to the north. Bluegrass music uses a number of instruments, including the banjo and the fiddle. The man here is holding a banjo, while the boy is learning to play the fiddle. West from Virginia. By the 1700s, England ruled 13 colonies in eastern North America. The English wanted their colonies to grow, giving more land to England. Settlers headed west from the Virginia colony and entered American Indian hunting grounds that became known as Kentucky. In 1775, American colonists broke away from England, which started the American Revolution. The colonists won the war and kept moving west. Soon, Kentucky had enough people to become a new state. Kentucky became the 15th state in 1792. Its ties to Virginia remained strong, though. Even when Kentucky stayed with the Union during the Civil War, as many as 40,000 Kentuckians fought with Virginia and the southern states. Daniel Boone, center in yellow, led many settlers to Kentucky. He used the Wilderness Road, which led through a break in the mountains called the Cumberland Gap. Land shaped by water. Virginians entering Kentucky first had to pass through the Appalachian Mountains on Kentucky's east side. The Cumberland Gap, an open valley in the mountains, was the easiest way to reach the lands beyond. The Cumberland Gap was formed by river water. Kentucky is covered in rivers. It has the most waterways of any state besides Alaska. Rivers form many of the state's borders. Other large rivers run across the central grassy hills and through the swampy southwest lowlands. In southern East Kentucky, you can visit Cumberland Falls, a waterfall on the Cumberland River. It is one of the few places where you can see a moonbow, or nighttime rainbow. Many visitors come to Cumberland Falls State Resort Park to view the falls. See here. Visitors to the park can also go fishing, rafting, horseback riding, and hiking. Living off the land. Early settlers ate their fill in Kentucky. Many kinds of animals the settlers hunted are still around, including deer, black bears, wild turkeys, and elk. Berry bushes, chestnut trees, and walnut trees grew there then and grow there today. Early settlers made drinking using the Kentucky coffee tree or a mint plant called pennyroyal. Today, people no longer use these plants. We now know that their leaves are poisonous if you have too much of them. The state's best-known plant is likely Kentucky bluegrass. The state plant. As bluegrass grows, blue buds form on the plant's green stems. This sometimes gives bluegrass a bluish color. When tall bluegrass blows in the wind, Kentuckians say that a blue mist hangs over the field. These horses are eating Kentucky bluegrass. Kentucky's rich bluegrass supplies food for both wild animals and farm animals. Only in Kentucky. There are many special things that come from Kentucky. Louisville Slugger wooden baseball bats are made in Louisville, Kentucky. These bats are used by many of the top baseball players. Many of the finest race horses in the world are raised in Kentucky. Kentucky also supplies almost all the world's bourbon, a kind of alcohol. Kentuckians make lots of things that people around the country use every day. The state's farmers grow corn, rye, barley, wheat, and tobacco. Miners dig coal out of the earth. Workers build cars, trucks, buses, and other vehicles. At Appliance Park in Louisville, workers build refrigerators, freezers, and washing machines. This worker is crafting a Louisville Slugger. Today, you can visit the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory in downtown Louisville. Choosing Frankfort. When it came time for Kentucky to choose a capital city, Frankfort was a natural choice. It was not the largest city, but a landowner there gave so much land and money for a capital that state leaders could not say no. The Capitol building borrows ideas from the buildings around the world. It has a dome like that of the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., and steps like those on the Opera House in Paris, France. Frankfort is a good place to go to remember Daniel Boone. Boone, one of Kentucky's most famous people. He was also one of the first settlers in Kentucky. You can see pictures of Boone's exciting life on the Capitol's wall. You can also visit a gravestone for him in Frankfort Cemetery. Kentucky's capital, seen here, was built between 1904 and 1910. The state's lawmakers had decided that the old capital, which had been built in 1830, was too small. A history of horses. Raising crops was likely the first business in Kentucky, but raising horses was close behind. Powerful racing horses, called thoroughbreds, may have been raised in the states early as 1779. Today, thoroughbreds are Kentucky's state horse. People raise and train horses for racing and show jumping on the state's many horse farms. Horse lovers can learn about more than 50 kinds of horses at the Kentucky Horse Park near Lexington, Kentucky. The Kentucky Derby is known as the greatest 2 minutes in sports. This race, held on the first Saturday in May, has been fun for horse racing fans since 1875. Every year, people enjoy the race at Churchill Downs Racetrack in Louisville. They clap as the winning racehorse has roses placed around its neck. The Kentucky Derby, seen here, is 1.25 miles long. Special riders called jockeys ride the horse in the stirring race. Mammoth Cave National Park. Much of the rock under Kentucky's rich soil is limestone. Rain and river water can wear away limestone. This creates a large cave tunnels like those at Mammoth Cave National Park. Mammoth means big. The cave is named well. Mammoth Cave is the world's largest underground cave. Mammoth Cave draws thousands of visitors each year. If you bring along a flashlight when you visit, you can see how the rock has slowly formed pointy cones above your head. A guide might show you saltpeter, a mineral mine to make gunpowder. There are even animals with no eyes there since it is always dark. However, you will never see it because Mammoth Cave is more than 365 miles, 587 kilometers long. Mammoth Cave National Park, seen here, is beautiful above ground too. It is home to birds, frogs, fish, and more than 1,300 kinds of flowering plants. Beautiful Kentucky. Some people say that Kentucky is as good as gold. Maybe that is because Kentucky holds the country's store of gold in the depository at Fort Knox. You could also say Kentucky is a work of art, like some of those from the Berea Craft Festival. Talented artists sell bedspreads, pots, jewelry, and more at this fair in Berea, Kentucky. To many, the greatest work of art is Kentucky itself. From the shining streams and the grassy hills to the golden leaves of fall, Kentucky has some of the most beautiful land in America. Kentuckians are also proud of the crafts, music, and foods that make Kentucky famous around the world. As their state song says, many Kentuckians love their old Kentucky home. the glossary. The Kentucky state symbols like the state tree, tulip, poplar, state horses thoroughbred, state flag, state bird, state flower, and the state seal. Famous people from Kentucky can be Abraham Lincoln, born in Hardin, Kentucky, and was a U.S. president. Muhammad Ali, born in Louisville, Kentucky. Johnny Depp, born in Owensboro, Kentucky. The Kentucky state map. Frankfort as its capital, and many major cities around. And they were right about the rivers. Kentucky state facts. Population, about 4,041,769. Area, 40,395 square miles. 1,004,623 square kilometers. Motto, United we stand, divided we fall. Song, My Old Kentucky Home. Words and music by Stephen Collins Foster. The index and some websites that you can use. And this was The Kentucky, the Bluegrass State by Jason Glasser.